No participation from anyone else here at the moment. Hi. So this is episode 3 of I Think It Could Be Beef.
I think it could be beef.
I think it could be bananas.
Well, listen, Marcus, we'll get to that.
Sorry.
Don't blow your wad before
Preempt.
we've even got there.
If you hadn't guessed already, we have a special guest for this week. It is none other than Marcus Reeves.
How you going, Marcus? You having fun today?
I'm at the moment, it's kind of like a Fanny Craddock thing going on. We're doing almost like a cooking.
We should set the whole scenario up. So basically, we've spent the day with Marcus Reeves in London. We've been doing some shows. It's all been very cute. And we thought we'd just sit down, have a kiki.
There's no is going on here.
And Marcus is currently creating what he's found something on BuzzFeed. And it's banana pancakes.
But not 3 ingredient banana pancakes.
Wait, but what's the third ingredient?
Cinnamon.
Oh,
But
right.
they don't count the butter that you've got to use to fry them in. And if I had not put the butter in, that could have been even worse than it was before.
Even more
It's
disastrous.
got glitter on you. I don't know
If you
where
follow me
that's
on
come from.
Instagram, you can see a photograph of Marcus's first failed attempt at trying to create a banana
Right.
pancake. So,
Right.
yes, check me out on Instagram.
Mind you, it tasted quite nice. I think we've
The
come to
egg.
the conclusion that...
It's kind of a banana omelette.
Yes, and you said that it was what there were... American eggs are smaller, is that right?
Yeah. Because their chickens are smaller.
Right, so you
But
used...
then everything else in America is so much
You
bigger.
used 2 eggs when really we could just do with 1. Because it was quite an eggy sort of pancake. It was nice though, it was nice.
1 banana ratio.
Where is this podcast going?
So, but like, but what is the banana a different size that you're using now? Is it all one sort of
Well,
same?
as we found when we went to Sainsbury's earlier, the ripe bananas were small, the not so ripe bananas were kind of medium sized, and the fresh bananas were really big. And we could have done some kind of infographic about how as bananas get riper, they get smaller.
Listen, Goldilocks, we do not have time for
This
this.
is just too much information, girl.
So, Marcus, we're going to just delve straight into this podcast.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about, everything that you are and everything you do.
God, everything.
Everything. We've got
Everything.
about 40 minutes, and
Have to
so
fit it all in.
we will do, yes. So
Story of my life.
let's get started. Do you want to sort of say a few words about sort of what your gig is, like who you are?
I'd like to thank God. No.
That's not really your gig, is it?
That is not my gig.
Thank God.
Thank the goddess. Now, I really am a singer-songwriter. I was born and raised in Croydon and in South London, and I have written a musical and written an album, and in the last year or so, I've been focusing my attention on the YouTube and diversifying, and in that time I've been filming stuff with all sorts of wonderful, generally queer, but not always queer,
Assholes.
assholes,
Like ourselves.
from the world of performance. So yeah, you could say I've covered many bases.
What was the musical that you did?
It was a musical called Postcards from God, the Sister Wendy musical.
I thought you said God wasn't your gig.
Well, this is the thing. When I wrote the musical, because it was about Sister Wendy, which to many people, probably they don't know who she was, but she was a nun and she lived in a caravan. She still does live in a caravan. And she talked about art and she had lots of television programs. So I wrote a show about her. And because I decided, lots of people, Nathan Lane, we've heard of Nathan Lane?
Sure.
Who's a Broadway performer. He used to lampoon her, take the piss out of her.
Lampoon's a fantastic
It's
word.
a big word for this time of the morning. But he used to do a drag act as Sister Windy Bucket or something. And because I chose with the musical not to take the piss out of her and make her look like an idiot, everyone thought that I was either stupid or a Catholic or both. And some people in the world might say that amounts to the same thing. I would never say that, of course. But I'm hopefully neither stupid I'm certainly not Catholic anyway. But I wrote this musical, and since then, I've been touting my wares as a performance poet, singer-songwriter, drag queen, whatever you want me to be. Dog.
Touring the world.
Well, almost.
Touring Croydon.
Touring bits of London.
Now,
I've been to Birmingham.
Birmingham is a place
Birmingham Pride.
I've heard.
Midday on a Sunday. Now there's a slot to fill.
They've got that accent, haven't they?
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
You grew up in Croydon, as did I.
Yes! God!
Was your experience as unpleasant as mine?
Yes! God!
I remember when we first met, and I wasn't entirely sure where Croydon was, and your response was literally just, where the riots were. Remember the riots on the news a little while? That was in Croydon, where the riots were. You never really had anything positive to say to me about it.
The thing about the riots, and what they didn't really say in the news...
Is that cinnamon? Because it looks like paprika.
That's quite a lot of cinnamon. We're making banana... It is cinnamon, don't worry, it's not paprika. This one does look more successful. I think the banana to egg ratio has now been...
It's better.
Perfected.
We'll see.
The thing about the riots, which they didn't point out, is the bit that got... Am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you can.
The bit of Croydon that got fucked by the riots is a very specific part of Croydon, because Croydon, like many parts of London, has lots of different things going on. And Reeves Corner, which I've named my website after, Reeves Corner in Croydon is a furniture shop. And it's been a furniture shop.
It's an historic.
It's an historic furniture shop.
It's been there for a long time.
And when I decided to launch myself on the world, I thought, never forget where you come from. And my surname is Reeves, so I thought it'd be a little pun that actually only ever people who come from Croydon ever get.
And I thought maybe you were actually affiliated with Reeves Corner. I didn't get that.
At one point, they actually said in the local paper they were really pissed off because someone else had stolen their website, and that someone was me. But as much as Croydon was not a beautiful place to grow up, I have a fondness for where I came from, and I think it's always really important to remember where you came from. And Reeves Corner the writers set this furniture shop on fire. That point in Croydon marks where all the shops end, so you've got all these high-end shops selling huge widescreen TVs, and then a long stretch of Croydon that is not a rich area and doesn't have much social housing and is kind of a bit rough. So that was, to me, it was very interesting because that was where those two parts collided. And at that time, that was what the riots were about. So as frightening as that was for me, because I live in Streatham Hill, so I had the Brixton riot, we call it a riot, at one end, where they it was a riot, it was the same thing. A lot of disenfranchised people feeling angry that their areas have been basically taken over by a load of really, that looks so wrong, doesn't it? It might taste nice. Taken over by all these posh shops with things they couldn't afford, so they're going to smash them up and take stuff. And part of me really agreed with it, part of me really didn't agree with it. It's very tenuous.
Marcus, I was there on the front line. I threw pipe bombs. I did a lot, and I loved every moment of it.
Molotov cocktails. Who wants a straw?
I've got my tattoo from the riots.
I did wonder what that was.
You say some things.
Do you know what I mean? Hashtag Croydon riots. What was it?
Hashtag keeping it real.
What was it now? 2013, maybe? About then?
2012, 2013?
Yeah, well, it was a beautiful time. We talk of it fondly, really.
For me,
Croydon was a glow.
The point about that is that no one really knew... Oh, that's too much butter. It gets butter.
That looks more like a pancake.
That does look like a pancake. Sorry, we're kind of multitasking, listeners.
We can do with that.
But I thought that was an interesting thing. What was the question you actually asked me?
I don't even remember. But Marcus Reeves, the Reeves corner.
I think it was literally. So Marcus, you grew up in Croydon, as did I.
Was it as shit as? Yes, and you said that you sort of, it was shit, but you appreciate the whole experience.
I went back to Croydon recently, and I went to several really cool clubs. And to me, if you said cool clubs in Croydon, it's like a rock club, but they have really great rock bands. And I was kind of like, believe it or not, people never believe this when I say it. I'm a shy person, and growing up, I was very shy. So for me, going to gigs and the pub was always like, you know, we'd just been watching Bob's Burgers, and I was Tina Belcher. So to me, Croydon has got a lot going on now. It didn't then, but anyway.
There's no gay scene in Croydon, though, is there?
Well,
No.
Oh,
There
now
isn't.
you're talking to the old school, because there used to be a gay scene in Croydon. There used to be. Listen while I tell you. There used to be 3 gay pubs in Croydon. There was the Bird in Hand, which was
The Bird, I knew about the
Bird in Hand,
Bird,
which
yes.
was a lesbian man pub, and it was mainly a lesbian pub.
Yeah.
Then there was the Goose and Carrot, which is now Luxury Flats, which was kind of behind West Croydon.
West Croydon's not a
Rugby.
nice area.
It's not the nicest place. And then there was another pub, which I forget the name of, but at that time, like literally the other pub was literally on about 600 yards from Reeves Corner, which got burnt down.
Yeah.
Which, if you're thinking, where should we put a gay pub? Should we put it in a very religious, Christian, Muslim, mixed ethnic area? It didn't really work.
It didn't work.
And literally, you would have to knock on the door to be let in. And when you went
Oh my
in,
God.
everyone would turn around, and it was like, you know, wah, wah, wah. It was kind of scary. The Goose and Carrot was renowned because it was run by this big fat man who used to serve the bar in his pajamas, and he had his friend who was a barman, and at one point his friend who was the barman fell out of the window
as you do.
rescuing a kitten, and broke both his legs and his arms. And then 6 months later he was back, and bless him, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. But anyway, the Goose and Carrot went, Bird in Hand went. There was another club that was kind of more towards this end, like West Norwoody way, where they had a foam night. Can you believe?
Phone or foam?
Gay foam
Oh,
night.
that's gross.
Oh, we've
West
had those
Norwood.
before.
Yeah, you don't want to.
But now, is there anything now? It's all gone.
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
I know there was a club my friend Al used to run, and they had a gay night. But a gay night it's sort of a very small kind of. I mean, it's an offering. It's not really a gay scene.
But to me, it's interesting talking to you today. Like, even in London, the gay scene is shrinking because places are being brought up to be turned into flats. And you've talked about Bournemouth and how that scene
It's
is
shrinking. It is.
The whole scene is shrinking, and also the whole world is shrinking. Like, I don't know whether it's an age thing. What I was talking about with one of my friends recently, because obviously the Black Cat, which is was a very historic venue, is now being closed and it's been squatted at the moment and all this stuff. And I was kind of like, well, is this the sign of the times, or is it that now I'm in my 30s and that's the point in your life where everything changes? You know, we've all spoken to our parents or our grandparents, and they've gone, oh, in my day, you know, we would go to the gay bar and we'd see Lola Lasagna and we'd all sing along.
Lola Lasagna, how
You know.
funny. Yes, yes.
And maybe this is where it happens, and in all our lives, and this is the point in our lives where it's beginning to change. I don't know. I honestly don't really know. It worries me that the young gay people don't necessarily know how to go beyond Grindr or Facebook or whatever.
It might be
the next thing
that
is.
the whole gay community is taking itself away from sort of the physical world online, and maybe it comes in keeping with that, you know, LGBT issues are more kind of accepted nowadays. It's more integrated. Maybe you don't need clubs to be separate from everyone else.
But you still need places to be with people.
You do, but
You
maybe...
know, we've spoken online for 6 months.
Sure.
And it's been great to meet you both today. We could have carried on speaking for 6 months and probably never met, and that would have been that. But I'd like to think that we've all had a nice experience today. And I think, you know, being with people in face-to-face
It's
is
always going to
invaluable.
It's always going to
And for many young people today, that's not the norm. Like,
I think you're
really is.
absolutely
It's
right.
a sad thing. Humans need to interact. It's the very
Yeah,
core
we're
thing.
animals.
Like, we're social beings. We have to, have one-on-one FaceTime.
Thinking about it though, before Facebook, before Grindr, I think the only other way to interact with people in like the LGBT community would be to have somewhere to meet up in person.
Yeah.
Which is the thing, and
the scene
now,
had
yes.
a purpose. These gay venues had a purpose, and
Grindr
now
has removed that.
The irony
I
is,
feel like maybe that's
we've
kind
been
of what
given
it
all this
is.
freedom, but actually we've taken the freedom away because we don't choose to meet together. We don't choose to interact. I lose count of the amount of times I've been in a bar and there's been some guy that I've spoken to on Gaydar or Grindr, and we might have had a nice conversation in that forum, and then maybe they don't like the shoes that I'm wearing or the fact that I'm a bit fatter in real life, so they'll be like, not speak to me. And it's kind of like, actually, maybe 20, 15, 10, 30 years ago, we wouldn't have had that interaction before, and we would have been literally the only gays in the village. So it's that thing of kind of, not you'd have to speak to everyone because they're the only people who are there, but you would have thought, this is someone who's on the same team as me, and maybe it's time for us to speak. And
Do it.
I might not want to go home and fuck this person senseless, but maybe they're a nice person and we could be friends. Like, I think that's gone. It's dead. Like, it's not completely, but it's not the same. I'm just placing a banana. It looks not so great, but it actually tastes really
I
nice.
think it looks like an actual pancake.
Well,
I think it looks like an omelette.
had a
still.
little bit too much butter. It
It's
gets
very
butter,
fluffy.
but it's quite nice. I'm quite pleased.
So I'm now tasting the banana pancake.
And I'm now cooking another banana pancake.
Oh, it's nice.
It's nice, isn't it?
It does taste like an omelette.
It's a bit eggy, but you get what you
I
pay
think-
for. If the
I
recipe says banana and egg, it's going to taste of egg.
I think maybe.
It's quite nice.
I was going to say you could do with some sugar, but maybe even not.
See, that's what I was wondering. I thought it tasted not sugary enough, but you do get the banana.
You do get the banana.
What did you do? Mash the banana first?
Mash the banana
So you mash the banana, you put it in a bowl, and you mix that with egg.
with egg and a bit of cinnamon.
Is that it? And
Yeah.
you fry it.
This is the whole point of the BuzzFeed recipe. It's a 3-ingredient recipe.
Well,
It's not
but
unpleasant.
butter is the fourth recipe, the
Yeah,
fourth
there's a lot
ingredient.
of-
So
There's fourth
There's
ingredient.
hella butter in there. Anyway,
they bloody lied.
so
Yeah. Pardon
we've-
Marcus's face on your face.
What do you mean?
You have glitter on your eyebrow.
Well, it's always going to be there.
on my face. So we've covered the gay history of Croydon.
Which is more diverse than I thought
It really
it
is.
was.
It really is.
Where were these pubs? So you say the Bird. Is that in
So-
central Croydon, or was it?
No, that was more Selhurst Way.
Oh, it's not Croydon then, is it?
Well, this is the thing. To me, it's like we were talking today. Where do I live in Streatham? Streatham is a huge place. There's Streatham Hill. There's Streatham Common. There's Streatham. Where does Streatham Hill turn into Brixton Hill? The estate agents will argue about this endlessly. But those were all part of the borough of Croydon, even if they weren't in the centre of town. There was a gay night at one of the venues in central Croydon, and it never took off. Because for me, again, at that time, this to me is what's interesting about gay life, gay history, whatever you want to call it, culture. To be gay was still something that was like, oh, I can't tell my mum or I can't tell my friends, and it's all a bit furtive. Ooh. So you would go to a special night at a special place that was like you'd been allowed in, and that's not really the case now. Like, yeah, a lot of people I know still face discrimination at work or,
But it's nothing
wherever.
compared to what
But
it
it's
was.
not the way it was that when I grew up. This makes me sound like I grew up in 1950, but things really have changed in a way that, again, this makes me sound old, but I think a lot of younger people don't appreciate the idea of going to a gay bar with your gay friends. That wasn't really, unless you were quite lucky, it wasn't really the thing. Or
Didn't happen.
It didn't happen in the same way.
No, it didn't. I think there's a lot to be said for sort of, LGBT people these days. And a lot of the young ones come, bucking out the gate, and it's all so sort of not handed to them on a plate, because it's still a very sort of difficult, turbulent sort of environment, but it is a lot easier now.
I do think that we made that mistake. I think a lot of people from our generation and younger as well, because we have all of that privilege, we are so lucky with everyone's attitudes now.
The P word.
Well, it is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it is.
Especially living in England and the United Kingdom with gay marriage is legal and everything, we are very, very lucky compared to some places in the world. But I think some people get carried away with it, and they do forget that there are still dangerous people out there. When we first started doing drag, we made the mistake of walking home in drag in the middle of the night, and obviously people pounced on us because we thought, oh, that doesn't exist anymore, we'll be absolutely fine. And
you turn a blind eye.
But it does happen if you're not careful. It is still there, but you're absolutely right.
I need to interrupt you because there's an eyelash in your beverage, and I've been staring at it, and you need to get rid of it lest you drown.
I'm probably just going to drink around it, but that's okay.
No, I'd try and take it out if I were you.
Anyway, next week it's Pride in London, and throughout my process, whatever we want to call it, I've gone through phases of like, I don't believe in Pride. Pride is really important. I want to be part of it. I've met people who've gone, I don't want to march around London with a load of faggots and look like a poof. To going, do you know what? I don't agree with the people who are running this. I don't want to be associated with it as a performer. I feel like I've kind of done every shade of whatever towards Pride.
Okay.
To me, why do we need Pride? A lot of anti-gay groups will go, Pride, or even some enlightened people who I've mentioned to you in the past will go, why do they need Pride? Where's straight Pride?
Every single day is straight Pride.
Every single day. Thank you very much. Right answer. LGBT History 101. And actually, a couple of years ago, my friend Trudy, who is a poet, organised a protest against what was going on with the Russian Olympics, and Peter Tatchell was there, and they got Channel 4 along, and this guy who was from Russia just kind of skirted around the whole thing. It was like, what you really need to realize is Russia is not homophobe. America is homophobe.
Do you not think though that just the media as a whole really did what the word skirted is very accurate? I think when it was a hot topic during the Olympics, people pounced on it, and then it fucking faded away.
Yeah, and
apart from that one documentary, was it Channel 4 that did the documentary?
Yeah,
they were the only people to properly analyse
people
that.
pointed out, these things are going on for people all around the world, 365 days a year, and have been going on for decades. And for me, it's important to be part of Pride, not because you want to hold hands with your boyfriend, whether you've got a boyfriend or not, or you want to dress up as a puppy and stick a fucking dog butt plug up your tail and be a...
How does a dog butt plug differ from a regular one?
Because it goes up like a tail and it's got stuff on it.
Okay, Mr. Marcus, don't divert from the point, please.
Whether that's what you want to do, we have the liberty to do it. And to me, my first Pride, I was 14. I went on my own. I didn't know anybody. I was absolutely fucking petrified. And I came home and I cried and I was like, that was really petrifying. But even then, I had a sense of, I have a responsibility as a relatively, and we're going to use this word, privileged gay person in a country where, I might get called a batty man on the bus, I might get harassed in the street, but I'm not going to be whipped and flogged and murdered or thrown off a fucking building. I have that freedom, and that freedom is a privilege. That freedom is something that is really important, and actually that freedom gives me the opportunity to stand up and be counted, to say, I am here, I deserve to be here, and actually the people in other countries who do not have that freedom, I can represent them. So the whole point of that was, as you know, having met me today, you can't ask me a question because I end up going round houses. But I've met many gay men over the last 20 years who've gone, oh, fine, well, what's the fucking point? Like, we all want to be the same. Why do we have to march down the street and look like a load of fucking queers? Because you've got the opportunity and you've got that you're being allowed to do that, and it's actually your fucking responsibility. Just as it is, you know, to go on a march about austerity or about something you feel important in. If you don't really give a fuck about it, fine. But then it's like, to me, it's like voting. If you don't want to vote, fine.
Then you have no opinion on anything.
Don't ever complain about anything to do with politics, because you have not used the rights that you were given and have been fought for by generations of people before you.
Hallelujah!
So,
hallelujah, ladies! Time to flip my pancake.
Views there on, you know, privilege and austerity. I think we asked Marcus what his favourite vegetable was, and that's how we ended up. But that's fine because Marcus does, as he said, go around the houses and doesn't leave anything untouched.
Wind me up and watch me.
But I think that's why Marcus makes for such a great sort of interviewee. Because
quite roused.
Guest.
Because there's a lot of things to sort of, you know, wet your palate, wet your whistle.
And you'll even get a sweaty banana pancake.
So, Marcus, going forward then, tell us about what you're doing. You dropped the lid of your wine.
Don't do that.
Listen, crap or otherwise, don't disrespect the wine. Don't throw the lid around. What are you doing at the moment? What are you doing going forward? What is, you know, the Marcus Reeves world inhabiting at the moment? Is present. What's going on?
Well, at the moment I'm crowdfunding for my new EP.
Yes.
Which consists of 3 songs that come from my career, my illustrious career in show business.
There's no
business like show business. And they're arranged for choir and band. When I did my charity single for the gays last year, I returned to a kind of style that someone described as like pop sung by Neil Diamond, which to me, I was like, that
sounds glorious.
That's exactly what I do.
Yes.
So I'm recording an EP. I'm currently crowdfunding for that. And every little helps, hint, hint.
And where can people go to see the crowdfunding page?
They can go to my website, reevescorner.co.uk, and it's emblazoned here, there, and everywhere. So I'm working on that. What I realised, I recorded my debut album, Quicksilver the Masquerade Macabre, which by the time you listen to this, hopefully should be back on iTunes. This pancake is even sweatier than the last one.
That's fine, no, it's not what it looks like. It all goes to make a turd.
But what I found... Such a beautiful image.
Yeah, you know.
What I found is that I'm a bit too weird for what I call the knobby normals. And I'm too normal for the freaky friends, let's call them that. So... I'm going back to my roots. I'm going back to my roots, girl. And I'm going to be releasing a series of EPs. And this one is very, very easy on the ear. It's kind of easy listening, really. Musical theatre. It's arranged for choir, so we're recording it for choir. And I want to get the music out to local choirs so they can sing my songs.
If no one's heard of you before, how would you describe your music? Who your influence is?
Woo, girl.
What's going on there?
What's going on? Well, it's kind of wide-ranging, you know. My musical had a bit of Gilbert and Sullivan influence. There was definitely a kind of David Bowie influence. Bit of Neil Diamond. It's musical theatre, but then my album was very Bowie influenced and a bit Elton John, again a bit of Neil Diamond. There's some jazz in there, which was a bit scary for me.
Is there any Britney Spears influence there?
Not on this stuff, but when we talk about Britney Spears, you see, because
but I'm all ears.
But my next project, I'm currently working on 2 albums. One is this is a name drop. Clang! A good friend of mine is one of my all-time heroes, Mr. David McCalmont, who, if you don't know who he is, you need to do your learning.
Google.
He also comes from Croydon. And he said when he was recording his albums, they have like an icon of the album. Who is the icon of the album?
You're getting better at these.
They're Japanese style pancakes.
They smell good. Have you had one yet?
I've nibbled a bit.
Okay.
So I've got 2 albums on the go, and one is the icon for the album is Anthony Hegarty, and it's very much about trans issues, and it's kind of very folky. But then the other one is all electronic, and the icon for that album is Kathy Dennis.
This sounds right on my alley.
Because Kathy Dennis has written all the songs. Can't Get You Out of My Head, Toxic. It's not Britney, it's not Kylie.
Shit.
It's
Well, Britney
Kathy
can't
Dennis.
write fucking anything, can she?
Well-
She could barely write her name.
Well,
Is she illiterate? Can she write at all?
No, she's just on drugs. So
I'm
anyway.
still sexy, y'all.
Oh, just give me a snake and let me wander on stage.
Even
No,
though
I won't have a bad word said about the woman.
I lost a leg to diabetes. Sorry, what?
Now, girls. We won't have any naughty words in my kitchen.
If you're listening to this, Brittany, we love you.
We love you, Brittany.
Oh,
Like
because,
she's listening to this.
because Britney Spears.
So anyway, yeah, I've got lots of things in the pipeline.
Great.
So yeah,
And biggest regrets.
biggest regrets.
Apart from today.
Meeting you 2 fuckers.
I said apart from today.
On the top of the list.
Have we wasted an entire day of your life?
There's no regrets. No tears goodbye. See, you probably don't know Scott Walker. That was a...
I think if you know there was anything we can take from this day, it's hashtag. You're probably too young to know that. You guys probably don't know that reference because you're far too young. And I love that I'm considered young because in most of my social circles,
At least you are.
I'm sort of an old molester. But that's fine. We have been doing an interview today.
Oh my god.
It's Marcus does a series.
Behind the Mask.
It's called Behind the Mask, and he interviews, you know, sort of very, very relevant people of the times. And we were lucky enough to be on the show
And now
today.
you.
And now us. So, how do you think how did the interview went today?
shade of it all.
Do you think it went well? I think it
I
was
thought it
great.
went well. I was struggling to get into you, but hey.
Is that,
Struggling to
now,
get
is that
into
not
me.
because you said that you don't usually interview 2 people at once?
It's my second threesome on that sofa.
Shit.
And who was the first?
It was a wonderful cabaret duo.
I'll tell you who it was. They weren't as good as us.
Those were your words, not mine.
Great.
But it's very hard to know who's talking. Which is no shade. It's just, you know, you've got to be...
But you have to, I mean, as well as, you know, including stuff
That's
about
so wrong.
promoting
It's like
people,
brain.
you have to include both people at the same
Yeah,
time.
of course.
It's a pain in the ass.
Well, you just got to be... Like, if you said the whole YouTube and the chat show thing has kind of happened by accident. And if you'd said to me 2 years ago, do you want to do a chat show? I'd be like, no. But I've learned a lot through meeting lots of different people. I feel I've got a lot better at it. But yeah, it's kind of a bit like being a compere at a performance
It's
or
fun though.
a ringmaster. You've kind of got to keep your eye on several things at once.
You have to make sure you're plugging something, that it's flowing well, that the person
Yeah.
is getting their say, you're asking fun questions, people are going to want to... There's a lot of things involved, but ultimately though, it's still quite fun, surely. You must meet such amazing people.
Yeah, it's been really nice to kind of meet people on a level, because often if you're at a gig and you meet your people who you really admire, your heroes, it's kind of like you're the artist and I'm Fred, you know, not be normal. But in this context, it's kind of like I'm talking about you and you're the focus, and it's nice to give something to them, but also learn a lot, you know. All performers are different. You're my 54th interview, 55th if we don't mention.
We don't speak of
mentionable.
that.
Who was the worst interview you gave, Marcus?
I'm not allowed to say for contractual reasons. Who was the worst interview I gave? Or...
Was it Nicolas Cage you had on?
Yeah, he was.
I heard he was an arsehole.
It was his wig.
He does look a bit like an arsehole
That's a
though. Like
shame.
he looks like an actual
Why can't
arsehole.
he just sort of, you know,
Kind of
try a
tucked
bit
in and a
harder?
bit yelling in the wrong places.
That's not nice. He could try. He's got some money.
He doesn't.
The Wicker
though.
Man was. I'm a huge fan. I'm obsessed with the original film, The Wicker Man.
I've not
Right,
seen
and
any
that
of them.
remake was an abortion.
It basically
Dreadful.
was.
It was dreadful.
You could have put an actual.
Ellen
abortion
Burstyn
on.
was in that movie. That woman's a goddess.
She probably has school fees to pay or something for her grandchildren, you know. People do
She's-
films for different reasons.
Yeah, I suppose. Just for something to do of an afternoon, I would have thought she would have.
Have either of you guys seen that YouTube video, that little skit of Nicolas Cage and his agent? And his agent is pitching him terrible film ideas, and he'll just take absolutely fucking anything.
Anything. Yes, that's...
It's so funny. I think it might
where's
even
that
be a
from?
film cow cartoon. I'm not entirely sure, but
It's not a cartoon. It's live
you have
action.
to. We'll put a link in the
He-
description of this if you
I just
find
wonder
it.
what
It's
he's
so
done that
funny
he has
though.
to do all those awful films, because they are really awful. He must
He's
have
such
been
a
divorced
bad
like
actor.
18 times. or
What is
something.
your favourite movie, Marcus?
My favourite film of all time is Rosemary's Baby, and I think it is one of the
I
most...
still haven't seen that.
Is
I
that
really want
because
to
you
see
played
that.
Rosemary's Baby?
When I had my 33rd birthday party, I had a Rosemary's Baby party.
Oh my
And no one
god.
came, which I was really fed up about. But I
No
dressed
one
up. No, about 3 people came.
Maybe because it was a fucking Rosemary's Baby thing.
Well, no, several people said, because I said, it's a Rosemary's Baby party, and
Was it a fancy dress?
it was fancy dress.
What would you dress
And-
up as?
Well, who do you think? And I had this little ginger wig and
Oh,
a big
God.
belly, and we showed Rosemary's Baby at midnight. And several people said, I can't come because that film gives
La,
me...
la,
no-
la, la, la,
See, I've still not seen it, but I would really like to see it.
So
Obviously, I know of
basically,
it.
Rosemary's Baby is this movie about this one chick, Mia Farrow. She's so airheaded, and she's like the most basic bitch. She's preggers.
If you guys have seen season 1 of American Horror Story, that is
Yes.
one of the main storylines that they steal.
She's super
Yeah.
pregnant, and she just is like it's the.
Oh my
worst
god,
pregnancy.
So if we're talking about TV, Nashville.
We tried it.
I liked it. I really liked it. You hated it though, so
I didn't hate it.
When did you watch it till though? Did you just
We
watch
watched
the first
We
about
almost finished the first
4
season.
episodes,
Yeah, so
5
you've gotta get in.
episodes.
No, I would watch it because I loved the music and I thought it was getting
only
good.
just getting going, and that's season 3.
I really liked it.
We're gonna have to
I would
rewatch
watch
it from the start.
it's
Then.
It's doing really well. I feel like it's being received well.
What
It
was
keeps
that
getting
song
renewed. The
in the
soundtracks
first
sound
season,
really
and
well.
it was-
Sometimes good intentions.
Was it crashing to you or blurring to you? Or...
just fade into.
That was a good one. Yes.
Da-
I mean, I would give it a go. I would
Song
give that shit a go
works so
again. But you
No,
know.
it's so good. If any listeners are still listening, then watch Nashville. It's season 3. You can find it, that place where I showed you Bob's Burgers earlier. It's a secret place.
Secret
I
Place of
heard
Pirates.
season 2 was Gashville.
That was weak.
Gashville.
You've done better.
That's offensive.
Have
That's
I
really offensive.
have I debased myself?
You've debased yourself.
Right. So
Yeah.
maybe this is a good time to sort of call it a day.
I
What do
just
you think?
talked shit about shit.
But,
No, it's been beautiful,
why do you
Marcus.
Brand.
Why do you think people tune into any of our stuff? They're expecting shit. I feel like we've consistently
Delivered shit.
Yes, we've consistently delivered quality shit on our YouTube channel, and now I feel like this is what our podcast is. It's just an extra slice of shit.
It's
that
a
doesn't
woven-
fit in with our other shit.
A golden woven orb of horse manure.
So thank you, Marcus, for providing another slice of shit.
Something's burning.
Burnt shit.
Well, the podcast
shit
is
again.
burning. So yes, okay, thanks.
It's been a privilege. Thank you so much.
It's been beautiful all day today, Marcus. So thank you for having
We've
me.
had a lot of fun.
And if
Thank
you're
you so
from
much.
Croydon, keep holding on.
Keep holding on, guys. It gets butter.
It does get butter.
That was Avril Lavigne. I didn't even bring her up.
No, you didn't.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you then. Subscribe to everything. Marcus Reeves TV, Novympia, everything love.
Bye, guys.